Hello, it's Saturday the 12th of September 2020. I'm in Arlon in Belgium and I'm going to spend a couple of days cycling to Bastogne. So this video is definitely going to have a Battle of the Bulge theme to it. I'm just leaving Arlon now. This is a monument to General Patton of the 3rd US Army, who liberated Arlon on the 10th of September 1944. And I'm just going to cycle to a little town called Fourvière now, and then tomorrow morning I'll be arriving in Bastogne, which of course was a very important town during World War II. So following D-Day in June 1944, the Allies had made a lot of progress, and by December they were starting to advance towards Germany. Now, the American army were in France and Luxembourg, and they were in southern Belgium. The British, Canadian, Polish, Australian and other Commonwealth soldiers were in northern Belgium, where they liberated Brussels, and they were advancing to Holland. And they had also taken Antwerp. Now, Antwerp was hugely important to the Allies. It was the only deep sea port that they had for supplies from England. They had Cherbourg as well, but Cherbourg was heavily damaged and it was too far away. So Hitler had this plan, and he called it Operation Autumn Mist. And his plan was to have a counter-offensive through the Ardennes and try and get to Antwerp and stop the supplies coming in. And also, when he did that, he would split the Allied armies up, and the Allies to the east of Antwerp, they wouldn't have had any supplies. So on the 16th of December 1944, the German army launched a massive attack on the region of the Ardennes that I'm approaching now. There was around 400,000 personnel and around 1,500 armoured vehicles. Because they had such a huge army and they had the element of surprise, the Germans quickly advanced through the American lines. But the American army soon regrouped, and they managed to hold the German attack at a couple of key points, the Elsenborn Ridge and Bastogne. So tomorrow I'll be travelling around Bastogne and the surrounding area to find out more about the siege of Bastogne. Sunday the 13th of September. Today I'm cycling to Bastogne, where I'll be staying on a campsite. So today I'll be following the Eurovelo 5 cycle route into Bastogne. This cycle route follows an old disused railway line, so I'm hoping it'll be quite flat most of the way. So on the 16th of December 1944, the German army launched their Operation Autumn Mist, or what became more popularly known as the Battle of the Bulge. And as they started to advance towards Bastogne, the Supreme Commander of the Allied Forces, Dwight Eisenhower, realised that Bastogne was a really important town to hold, because it was a major crossroads. There were 7 major roads coming into the town, so he knew that he had to hold that to stop the German advance. So he immediately sent reinforcements there. He sent the 82nd and the 101st Airborne Divisions over to there. I think they went on the 19th of December, and they dug in and prepared for the attack from the Germans. I've just arrived in the centre of Bastogne. This is a statue dedicated to General McAuliffe, and General McAuliffe was the commander of the armed forces in Bastogne, And he was the general who used the famous nuts quote. I think on the 22nd of December, the German army asked him if they wanted to surrender, and he just sent back the one word nuts, which confused the Germans at first, but of course it means no, we're not going to. Close by to the statue is an M41 US Sherman tank. This tank, it was nicknamed the Barracuda, and it saw action around this area, and they put it here as a permanent monument to the Siege of Bastogne. And next to the Barracuda is the last marker stone of La Voie de la Liberté, and this one has the number 1145 on it because it's 1,145 kilometers from Saint-Hubert, where the first stone was put in. I'm heading in an easterly direction out of Bastogne now. I'm heading towards a wood called Bois.Jacques, or Jack Wood. Bois.Jacques was part of the defences around Bastogne. When the 101st Airborne Division arrived here, they had to dig in around the town, and they dug lots of foxholes around the town. And at Bois.Jacques, a lot of the foxholes that they dug have been preserved. So I'm going to cycle over there now and have a look at them. I've just arrived at Bois.Jacques. This is a war memorial dedicated to the 506th Regiment of the 101st Airborne Division, Company E. They were the troops that had to hold this wood against the German attack. I've just arrived at the entrance to the wood where the foxholes are. It's very difficult to imagine what it was like back then, because December 1944, it was one of the coldest on record. And so throughout the siege, this would have been just covered in snow. It would have been below freezing. And on top of that, the soldiers, they were very badly equipped. They only had the gear that they had marched through France. They didn't have much proper winter gear. They didn't have much ammunition or medical supplies and stuff like that. And so, and of course, they were under a constant attack from the Germans as well. So it must have been a very awful place, this. The original foxholes, of course, were dug 76 years ago. And so they've had to restore them. They've had to dig them out for, I think it was the 50th anniversary of the Siege of Bastogne. I think they were redug then. But it's fascinating to have a look at them now. The foxholes are looking out over a small village called Foy, about a kilometre away. And when the Siege of Bastogne was lifted, the 101st were told they had to stay here, and in December they were ordered to attack Foy, which still was occupied by the German army. And I'm going to cycle down to there now. So on the 13th of January 1945, the soldiers who were based up in Bois.Jacques were ordered to come down this hill and attack Foy, just down there in the distance. I'm in the centre of Foyne now. This is the street which leads down to the church. There was a TV series a few years ago called Band of Brothers, which was about the 101st Airborne Division during the World War II. And the Battle of Foy was shown in this series, and there was one moment where there was a sniper, a German sniper, was in this street. He was in the house in the centre of the picture, and he was shooting at the American soldiers who were where I am now. And the American army, they had the 101st, they had a marksman called Shifty Powers, and he managed to get the German sniper. He stood just here. I better watch where I'm standing, because I think the locals are a bit fed up with foreign tourists walking over their gardens. But he stood here and he managed to get the German sniper. It was about 65 metres away, and I'm just going to go down and have a look at the house now, because there's still small arms fire from the Battle of Foy. So again, I'd better watch where I'm standing. I'm going to stay in the main road and film this, but you can see on this wall there's a lot of holes. These were caused by the Americans, the small arms fire, and the sniper was in that top window. I've just come down to the church of Foy, and it was here that there were a couple of famous photographs were taken of the village just after the battle. I've just left Baston now. I'm on a road going southwest out of the town. It's a road that leads to a village called Assenoir, and on this road there's a building of historical importance called the Assenoir Bunker. The bunker formed part of the defences around Bastogne, and it was here on the 26th of December that an armoured division from the US 3rd Army broke through the German lines and came down here and met with the troops defending the town, and that broke the siege. The main military museum of Bastogne is, unfortunately, it's about 2.5 miles away from the town centre, and I would give it a try and go over there, but because of the pandemic, you have to book online and you have to book a certain time, so it's just too difficult to do. But fortunately, there are museums in the town centre as well. So this is the museum dedicated to the 101st Airborne Division. So I'm going to go in and have a look around. Bastogne nowadays is actually quite a lively town. There seems to be lots of cafes and restaurants and bars in the town centre, lots of people around. I'm looking for a campsite now. All the hotels in Bastogne are very expensive. They're about €90 a night, and there's no Airbnb rooms available, but there is a campsite here. I'm hoping it's open. According to the website, it's open, so I'm just going to come here now. So this is the campsite. I think it's called Camping Renval. It's just on the outskirts of Bastogne. I was reading the reviews online. It's had some mixed reviews. Some people said it's a very nice campsite. Others said there's a lot of loud music at night and the toilets are disgusting. But no, it's September now, so this is the camping. This is for tents. Just over there, it's the permanent homes and caravans or somewhere else. And as you can see, I'm the only tent here at the moment. So September is definitely a good time to come here. I think it's €16. I don't know yet. The reception isn't open yet, so I'm just going to go over now and pay. Monday the 14th of September. Today I'm cycling to a small town called Saint-Hubert, where I'll be spending a couple of days. This campsite is not too bad actually. The toilets are okay. There wasn't any loud music last night, but I guess August is probably a much noisier time to come here. September's a much better time to come. And another thing I like about this campsite, just across the road, there's a filling station, which they're open at 8 o'clock in the morning, and they sell takeaway coffee and sausage rolls. So that's another very good reason to recommend this campsite. And I think it was €12 for one person with a tent. So now I'm cycling sort of westwards towards Saint-Hubert, and then I'll be spending a couple of weeks cycling to Brussels, and then I'll probably arrive at the Belgian coast at Ostend, and then after that then I'll decide where to go after that. I'm back on the Eurovelo 5 cycle route again, but I'm not following it exactly. I'm just following it on and off. I'm heading westwards now towards Saint-Hubert, but I'll be back on the Eurovelo 5 as I head towards Waterloo, and then I'll be leaving it for good day when I head north towards Brussels. And I'm hoping Brussels is good for cycling. It's either going to be a really good cycling city or a very awful one, but I'll soon find out when I get there. I've just arrived in the small town of Saint-Hubert, where I'll be spending 2 nights. I've got loads of footage from Bastogne, so I'll be spending some time editing all that. And then I'll be preparing for my next little ride. I'm cycling up to Dinant, just north of here, and then to Namur. So I'm hoping the weather stays like this.